thousands of ICE officers to be reassigned from desk jobs because they're not allowed to do their job as is under the Biden administration, as Trump vows to flood sanctuary cities with agents. Now, who are they going to be taking away first? Let's get into it. Here we go.
President-elect Donald Trump plans to reassign U.S. immigration and customs enforcement officers who have been working desk jobs under the Biden administration back into the field, according to the New York Post. Federal employees working at a West Coast field office and an East Coast field office told the Post they estimate 60 to 70% of their officers are currently stuck behind the desk filing paperwork rather than making arrests of undocumented migrants who cross the U.S. southern or northern borders illegally. On the campaign trail, Trump vowed to implement mass deportations of undocumented migrants. As U.S. Customs and Border Protection numbers show, border agents encountered nearly 11 million migrants in the last 4 years, and critics argue that number is much higher. Earlier this week, Straight Arrow News reported on leaders of so-called sanctuary cities who said they would not cooperate with the incoming Trump administration's orders.
LAPD will protect our immigrant community. LAPD officers will not take action to determine a person's immigration status and will not arrest someone for their status. And LAPD will not.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll see how that works out. But if one of your illegals comes to our city, they're getting arrested and they're getting deported. So why don't you guys get in line and stop being this virtue signaling sanctuary city? Because look at how that's worked out. You are basically telling your constituents, we don't care about you. We prioritize the illegals, many of whom are wildly violent, and you're okay with that. And you're okay with local resources being spent on the illegals. That's the message you're giving. So see how that works out there for you, Jimbo?
Not assist with mass deportations.
We're going to defend the people of this city. Because look, his attack,
This is coming from a douchebag who just proposed a $300 million tax package on the real estate of his own constituents. Meanwhile, he has spent $500 million on the illegals. See those numbers? Yeah, 300. Hey, we want to tax you, and you just spent $500 million on the illegals. And that was voted down by the Chicago City Council in a vote of 50. I repeat, 50-0, because this Let's Go Brandon Johnson is so tone deaf to his own constituents and this policy of progress. He's very progressive. How's that working out for you, Chicago? Next time you get the opportunity to vote for somebody else a little bit more moderate, a little bit more reasonable, I say you go down that road. And you're already headed down that road because because Chicago and Illinois, yeah, it went a little bit more red. But you need to get these kind of guys out of there because they're not doing you any favors.
be very clear. The president-elect, former President Trump, his threat is not just towards new arrivals and undocumented families. His threats are also against Black families.
Now, Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan.
Yeah, if you're an illegal, doesn't matter what color you are. You know, isn't that just racism? Yeah, they're going to deport whomever. And so you're going to have families from Haiti. You know what I mean? So, all right. So what are you even talking about there? Let's go, Brandon Johnson. Guy is just, I mean, how he got elected, how you guys in Chicago voted for him, I do not know. I mean, it's just baffling to me, but whatever. I live in Seattle. I can't really talk.
And is promising to flood sanctuary cities with ICE agents.
I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion: if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way if we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send in New York City because we're going to do the job.
According to ICE's budget overview, there are just over 21,000 ICE employees. However, there are dozens of open positions at each ICE office that need funding in order to fill them, the Post reports. Homan says his first week in the position, he'll visit the U.S. northern and southern borders to meet with border agents and personnel to get a sense of what they need in order to get their job done.
Wouldn't that be something? Homan gets to both borders in the first week. I mean, you know what Kamala Harris's response was? Hey, you haven't been to the southern border. Yeah, I haven't been to Europe either. Like, what the F are you talking about? She was so bad. She was so bad. Such a bad candidate. Oh, and the blaming. We're blaming them. We're blaming them. Even MSNBC met with Trump to basically say, we're really sorry. We're sorry we made fun of you. We're sorry that we, continuously went against you. How can we help you with your new administration? What a bunch of virtue signaling nonsense. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers who spent the last 4 years stuck behind a desk processing illegal migrants under the Biden-Harris administration, preparing to get back out into the field. What a change. That is 180-degree change, right? All right. We have gone from Uber drivers for the illegals to actually arresting them and deporting them. Weird. So all of this ridiculous talk about if we just had some legislation, you know what? That's not what we need. We just need to basically uphold the laws already on the books, including some of the, remain in Mexico policy, the parole, revoke the whole use of parole, wind back, a portion of those 94 executive orders that Biden did. And you're back in the game. You're back in just letting ICE officers do their thing would be a big, big step in the right direction. And in these big sanctuary cities, like Homan said, he is all gangbusters for cleaning up America. I'm not opposed to that. I say, hey, it's gone the wrong way for far too long, for far too many years. We've let millions and millions and millions of unvetted illegals basically into the country. It's turnaround time. So let's go. And Homan is committed. I mean, he doesn't seem like a guy who would just be like, we're just trying to do our job over here. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy. He's like, hey, get the hell out of the way. We're going to kick out the people that need to be kicked out. And he's not talking about, moms with babies, newborns. He's talking about criminals. That's where they're going to start. Criminals. And they've got their hands full with just getting illegal criminals out of the country. So let's let them do that. And then we'll talk about what they're going to do with the other folks. The move would mean thousands of desk-bound ICE officers will soon be making arrests. Federal agency has a total workforce of 21,000 employees. Trump's going to send in the feds. Just guaranteed. He's been itching to send in the feds. He wanted to send the feds to Seattle, and he should have. At the time I said, don't do it because you're just ruffling a whole bunch of feathers. And we were looking at election time. And, it was a hot potato, but hindsight should just immediately send in the feds. Send in the feds. If somebody takes over a university building, send in the feds if local law enforcement won't do it. Just send in the feds. Boom. Yep. Done. Boop. Bye. Federal agency, a total workforce of 21,000, which includes non-law enforcement personnel who handle administrative work, according to Department of Homeland Security. It's unclear exactly how many of the total law enforcement personnel will be reassigned from pushing paperwork. However, sources from a West Coast field office and an East Coast field office told the Post that an estimated 60 to 70% of their officers are currently stuck behind desks. If you're enjoying this content, charities handing out free crack pipes on Skid Row and addicts sell them to buy more drugs. It's explicit. Oh, it's explicit. Are you a junkie on Skid Row who just got a bag of crack or fentanyl but have no pipe to smoke it? Don't worry. Local nonprofit organizations will hand you a brand new crack pipe free of charge, and then they turn around and sell it and buy more drugs. God bless America. I can't run that kind of content on other platforms because, censorship. And so we run it on Reasonable TV and check it out. What's it going to cost you? It's going to cost you $3.99 a month, $39.99 yearly. You can try it out, 14-day free trial. You get some other stuff in there. And I'm putting at least 2 videos a week. The good stuff. Yeah, this isn't that stuff from that guy down the street. This is the good stuff. Thanks in advance. Why are they stuck behind desks? Because Biden's policy, that's where they've ended up. That's where they've ended up. This notion of if we just had some better legislation, you've got all your personnel, you've got all your resources just sitting at their desk with their thumb up their ass, pushing paper. How does this make sense? Have them get out there. I don't know the ins and outs of Department of Homeland Security and all this stuff. But I did go down to the border twice. I went down to Eagle Pass in early 2024, just after that massive spike of illegals coming into the country. I mean, the numbers were staggering. 302,000 in the month of December 2023. 302,000 in one effing month. It was wild numbers. And so, what you get is at that point in time, the Abbott administration, Greg Abbott administration of the governor of Texas, he had basically said, hey, if Biden isn't going to allow Customs and Border Protection to do their job, we're just going to do our job because we have a responsibility to our constituents of our state to keep the not only Texas border secure, but the U.S. border. And the border was so wide open, just that Customs and Border Protection officers were sought out. That's who the illegals wanted to go to. Because if you got popped by one of Texas's federal, not federal, but Texas state officers, then there's a chance you'd go in front of a Texas judge, and you get deported. But if you got to Biden's Customs and Border Protection, a federal entity, even though they didn't want to do this, they'd basically give you a ride, a hot chocolate, and say, where'd you like to go? They're going to get you to one of the local migrant centers. And then from there, they're going to process you a little bit and, get you some food, give you a couple of nights good rest. And then you're going to get, the chance to go, where would you like to go today? You want to go to Denver? Denver? I hear Denver's good. You want to go to Chicago? How about New York City? Where would you like to go? Where can we take some more of American taxpayers' dollars and send you? Because this is what President Biden has dictated is the rule of law. I mean, there's countries all over the world that are falling apart. We can't take them all in. And if we can't take care of our own people here domestically, we have no business doing this absolute ridiculousness. And that's what this is. Sources said the rank and file are excited to be catching criminals that Biden let roam freely in the country for the last 4 years without any consequences. And that's what's going on. It wasn't ever even catch and release. It was just release. They talk about making arrests, but they didn't really arrest anybody. They didn't take anybody to jail. They took them to a migrant center and said, see ya. Good luck out there. There's a little piece of paper. Here's your hearing in 14 years. One source said that they can't wait to get back into the streets, while another said that while he hasn't had any experience yet making arrests for ICE, his years of previous experience with Biden Border Patrol will make it an easy task. These guys, they know what they're doing. They know how to handle this. They just haven't been allowed to. It's embarrassing. What country does that? Oh, yeah, just let them come into the country. It'll be fine. No vetting. We don't need to vet. Plus, now and then we're just going to stick the individual states, individual sanctuary cities with the exorbitant cost of, basically taking all these people on. And these ridiculous sanctuary cities, initially they were like, oh, kumbaya moment. You come to Big Daddy. Come over here and give us a big hug. And then when they realized how much it was going to cost, they're like, oh, good Lord, we can't do that. We've got a budget. And that's exactly what Let's Go Brandon Johnson is talking about right now, right? And he's like, where am I going to come up with the money? Guy is such a moron. Recent interview with the Post, Homan, an ex-cop and former border agent from West Carthage, New York, put sanctuary cities, including the Big Apple, on notice, warning them to cooperate with the feds. And then you've got LA, and then you've got state of Washington, state of Oregon. We're just not going to help with the mass deportations. So you don't want to deport criminals? Let me get that right. You want to leave criminals in the United States. You don't want to deport them. Is that what I'm hearing? I mean, that seems to be what you're saying, because Homan's talking about coming in and prioritizing illegal criminals, those with criminal convictions or those that are in the United States that shouldn't be here, that have already had their number pulled to get the F out. And those are the folks that I'm saying, hey, they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be here. It's the law. Boom, out. Because you know what? 75% of the folks that are coming into the country don't have a legit reason to be here based on our asylum laws. 75%. 3 out of 4 won't make it. So, yeah, there's that. And when you talk to Democrats, they're like, well, it's just so horrible. No, you got to take care of our own first, and then you go from there. But that's not how it's been with the Biden administration. And they've probably let close to 20 million people into the country? 20 million people. I'm sure that'll work out fine. If they're not going to do it, then get the hell out of the way. We're coming, Homan said, adding that enforcing tougher immigration laws will require a lot of manpower. And they're going to have to come at it from the federal angle because there aren't enough local law enforcement in any of these sanctuary cities to spread around. You just don't have it. So now you've got these ridiculous mayors going, I don't have the map. Yeah, we noticed because you defunded the police and you went down that road, right? So how's that working out for you? Not that great. So if I have to flood agents to the sanctuary cities to get the job done, then that's what we're going to do. Boy, that is really, really going to ruffle some feathers, isn't it? Oh my God, families are being destroyed. Well, they're ones that shouldn't have been here in the first place. And, while we're at it, maybe we should look for the 300,000 underage kids that are here somewhere in the U.S. Where are they? Where are they? You know what I mean? We joke about it, but those are human lives. 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. Yeah, and it's not going all that well for them. So if you're okay with that kind of thing, then I'd say, yeah, don't help the feds. Don't help the feds at all. Just hunker down, do your thing, and, just pretend that human trafficking and sex trafficking to minors isn't happening. And you know how we know that that's true? Is because Tren de Aragua, their number one criminal activity is trafficking Venezuelans. A Venezuelan prison gang traffics their own. Shocker. Because these are marginalized people that don't have resources, and they're told, hey, you got a big debt. We'll get you into the U.S., but you're going to have to work it off. It's going to be on your back or on your knees. You're going to have to work it off. So Tren de Aragua makes big, big money doing that. But you've got all these folks saying, well, but, we can't deport people. No, they're going after the criminals. So let them deport. We'll see what happens, right? It can't get any worse than it already is. And that's kind of my thought. The personnel to be there to carry out these mass deportations right now, a lot of units have been depleted, said one iSource. The Fugitive Operations Street team isn't making enough arrests. They'll crack down on them first, the source added, referring to the agency's program that assists field officers in locating and arresting migrants who represent a threat to national security or public safety. We're not going after, husband and wife with a 4-year-old with a teddy bear. That's not what's going on here. You're addressing the threat first, and then they're kind of going from there, right? And if that's still not enough, then they'll probably be mandated to add more officers to the arrest team to make more arrests. Just load them up. Load them up. It's going to be wild. I mean, how does this actually go down? What does this actually start to look like? Yeah. I mean, Biden is just going to look like an absolute idiot. because he is. So there are dozens of vacant positions in each ICE office that need the fundraising, okay? Not able to fill them because they don't have the funding. Well, I got a feeling that there's going to be some additional funding going on here because Trump has said, hey, price isn't really a deal. And he's going to clean house. Do I believe Trump is going to clean house with an 8 million person deportation? No. I honestly don't. I think he goes after he'll go after for a year, the criminals. He'll make a big effort to get them out. He'll also stop those coming in numerous different ways. I strongly believe that. You know why? Because he was doing that from 2016 through 2020. We already saw what that looks like. And what does that look like? Oh, yeah, it looks like the lowest illegal numbers in 45 years? Something along those lines? Okay. So you're saying we can make this work? I think it would be silly to just allow the situation to just keep festering. Let in 20 million. It's all good. It's great. Better for the betterment of humanity. No, get the bad apples out, toss them out, and then we'll work on the rest and see what that looks like. Homan, who served the last Trump administration as acting ICE director, said that in his first week on the job, he plans to visit the southern and northern borders, something that Kamala Harris, I don't think ever did she? I know she went down to Brownsville, but I don't know if she went to the northern border. It seemed like she was so concerned with going to the border because she wasn't going to be able to address what was really going on. And she had to go to Brownsville because if she went to Eagle Pass, you would have had Greg Abbott show up and he would have just ripped her a new one. There's no love lost there, right? And Kamala Harris, she's put in this position and she doesn't really know what she's doing. She's not really capable of articulating consistent thought that might, allow one to kind of understand what's going on in her head. Just the crazy stuff that she says. She's not a person that you want at the southern border. Let's just put it that way. So now, the high at Eagle Pass, I remember was 4,400 people in a day. That was the high in December of 2023. Now the max is about 300 at Eagle Pass, something like that. So they're still coming through, but not nearly in the droves that they were. It's not happening. The numbers have gone way, way down. And a lot of that has to do with the Biden administration asking Mexico to help a brother out because the optics that Biden was experiencing in late 2023 were so horrific. And the United States collectively just said, hey, you know what? Inflation's really important. And the weak southern border is really, really important. And that's how Trump got elected. On those types of things, not on trans rights, not on abortion rights, not on that stuff. That stuff went nowhere, because they're not the important things that everyday Americans are struggling with. It might be on their list, but if let's see, do I get an abortion today or do I pay the bills? You know what I'm saying? That's not on everybody's to-do list. That's not on everybody's grocery list, right? Need abortion. Not to, minimize that as a thing, but it just wasn't an issue the way the Democrats thought it was. So it'll be really wild to see how some of this stuff happens. I won't see much of it here in my area because we just don't have the huge numbers of illegals. I don't know if we have any indication of Tren de Aragua being here. We've probably got a few thousand, right? But we are not Denver. Took on 42,000. New York, Chicago, Denver damn near took on as many as New York City. You know what I mean? It's just this huge head scratcher. It's like, you just had to up everybody and bring them all to Denver. We love you. Then you've got Tren de Aragua taking over apartment complexes and national media going, oh, good Lord, this isn't a good look. We have to deny all of this. Have you noticed how almost all of that storyline is just boop, gone because Trump got elected? Yeah. Interesting, right? Interesting. What happened? Well, America made a decision. America went in a different direction. It's not you, it's us. We're going to need to go in a slightly different direction, and it doesn't involve you. That's Kamala Harris. Yeah. And Joe Biden. Yeah. So bad. So bad. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you next one. Bye for now.